The Red Raiders head up to the Empire State to take part in the UKG Legends Classic up in Brooklyn. In today's video, we'll preview the first matchup for the Red Raiders against St.Joes and look at the field and who the Red Raiders could potentially be playing on Friday night. Hint, it's a familiar foe. Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's RC Maxfield here for the Back to 12 podcast, and all I'm going to ask you to do in today's video is like the video if you want 100% free Texas Tech men's basketball content all year long. Whether it's happening on the hardwood, in the portal, or anything in between, we've got you covered right here on the most subscribed to Texas Tech YouTube channel here on the Back to 12 podcast channel. All right, let's jump right into this and kind of lay the land a little bit in terms of Texas Tech and what they are going into the Legends Classic up in Brooklyn. If you haven't seen already, this will be taking place at the Barclays Center. Texas Tech actually practiced at the Brooklyn Nets practice facility, which I believe is actually connected to the Barclays Center. I could be wrong on that. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but pretty sure I'm right on that. In terms of Texas Tech, though, Tech is at number 22 in the USA Today coaches poll. They are not ranked in the AP top 25. They're actually the 26th team in terms of votes, and just on the outside looking in. But when you look at KenPom, and this is kind of what I look at early on and really through the longevity of the season, it's the Red Raiders at 9. So they're not in the AP poll, but they are the 9th best team in the country, according to KenPom. Very interesting stuff. Now, I know a lot of people have talked about, the strength of schedule hasn't been that good so far. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I wish they'd play a little bit better competition, but they are playing better competition, in theory at least, in this Legends Classic. So you're starting off with St.Joes, a team that has beaten Villanova this year. Now, Villanova is not what they were in the past with Jay Wright at the helm, but they have beaten Villanova this year. Texas Tech will have their first true test against St.Joes, a team from New York right there. Don't have to travel too far, unlike the Red Raiders. Then the other two teams in this tournament, and Texas Tech will play the winner or the loser, depending on if the Red Raiders beat St.Joes. If they win, they'll play the winner. If they lose, they'll play the loser, obviously, in the third place game. But the other two teams, a lot of orange involved. Literally, one of the team's mascots is an orange. It's Syracuse, and then the Texas Longhorns. How fun would that be to be playing in Barclays against Texas on Friday night? I'm signing up for it. But in terms of Texas Tech, what they're looking like going into this tournament, okay? Some interesting numbers, all courtesy of TexasTech.com and the basketball website over there. The Red Raiders lead the nation with a 66.3% effective field goal percentage, okay? This team leads the Big 12 and is second nationally, shooting 58% from the field. They are second in the Big 12 with 20.8 assists per game. I know what you're going to say. Okay. Yeah, they should be having these kind of numbers when they're playing arguably the worst team in college basketball in, University of Arkansas Pine Bluff, right? Like, I get that. I really, really do. But at the same time, it's like, okay, it is what your schedule is, right? Now you're getting into the more difficult part of it. And obviously you want to play Texas in terms of having a high-quality win, potentially. That would be a quad one win. Then you get to play Texas A&M later on at Dickies Arena, a neutral site game like this one would be if you were to play the Longhorns up there in Barclays. But you're facing off against St.Joes, and St.Joes isn't the best team in the world, but they do have that win against Villanova. They do have a loss on their resume that comes against a team that really ain't that good. But in terms of the overall history between these two teams, St.Joes and the Red Raiders, the team we know for sure Texas Tech will be playing in the Legends Classic. The Red Raiders are actually 0-2 all-time in the series against St. Joseph's, with the most recent meeting coming in the second round of the 2004 NCAA tournament, with the Hawks winning 70-65 in Buffalo, New York. You may remember that St. Joe's team. That was the team that had Jameer Nelson. His son played at TCU, and then Delonte West, who was a NBA vet for a long time. Now, again, the other teams in this competition are Syracuse and Texas. The championship game is set for 8 p.m. on Friday. Hopefully, Texas Tech will be playing in that. We know for sure they will be playing at 8 p.m. on Thursday night there in Barclays. What do we want to see, though, from Texas Tech, right? Because I think realistically, if we're being honest with ourselves, we like what Texas Tech did, but again, going back to the competition aspect of it, I'm not going to play with you guys and say, oh, they played good competition. Not even below average. It's been pretty shitty. I mean, let's just call a spade, right? What I want to see Texas Tech do really well is see if that length actually translates to higher competition that they have, right? Do they have the 7-footers that, maybe you want one more on the roster? And it sounds like Fetty is supposed to play against St.Joes. It sounds like he missed that UAPB game. Just from a precautionary standpoint, we'll have to watch that going into it. But I want to see if the length on the defensive side of the floor translates. I know what this Texas Tech team is on the offensive side of the floor. They're going to be pick and roll heavy. They're going to try and create space, and they have shooters with absolute snipers, okay, on the outside. Whether it's Chance McMillan, Kerwin Walton, Christian Anderson, Elijah Hawkins, D5, the list goes on and on, right? I didn't even mention Kevin Overton, okay? You've got guys that can shoot the basketball. Spacing is not going to be an issue on the offensive side of the floor, and you're going to shoot most nights at a very, very high clip. What I'm most interested to see in this jumping competition in the Legends Classic is the defensive side of the floor, because it felt like they had been a little bit laxed on that end, where you can see Elijah Hawkins being a pest when it comes to guarding the primary ball handler for the opposition. But I want to see it against higher competition, right? I want to see if that was one of those things where he's just absolutely going at it because he knows these guys aren't in the Power 5 in terms of, well, listen, college basketball. Who have they played that we know is going to make the NCAA tournament? Absolutely nobody. Okay, and a lot of these teams that they played so far are projected to finish at the bottom or close to the bottom of their respective conferences. Now, that's one thing I want to see in terms of Elijah Hawkins. I want to see also is like, what does it look like on the interior, right? I like JT Toppin a lot. I want to see him elevated in terms of the competition. We saw what he did in the Mountain West last year. He's a hooper. I'm not debating on if JT Toppin is good. He's a stud. I think he's a bona fide, at worst, all Big 12 second team type player. I truly believe that. But I want to see it in the Scarlet and Black. I want to see him really assert his dominance down low and really make it to where St.Joes has no answer. I think that that's probably the best way to say it. I want to see a guy like Fetty go in there and be aggressive on the boards. One area of his game that he's lacking in terms of the film that I've seen. I want to see Devin Cambridge have a get-right game in terms of the physicality aspect of it. We know what D5 is. D5 is having an historic start to his Texas Tech second-year campaign. And that's not just me trying to, hype him up. It's true what he is doing from a really across-the-board standpoint, albeit 4 games. I get it. Hand up for accountability. They played nobody, like I said, but he's had a really good start. Can that continue? Can Texas Tech shoot at a high level in a neutral site where this is good competition for them in terms of getting acclimated to a neutral site, because this team has ambitions not only playing in the NCAA tournament, but also making noise in it. And I do think they can. But this is a major step up in competition, right? You're not playing these teams anymore that are at the lower level. You're now playing a team that is in a solidified conference that can make some noise in that conference. Again, they beat Villanova. I know Villanova is not the Villanova of the past, but this is a step up. And then you're going to have the opportunity to play a team either in the ACC or in the SEC. That sounds very weird to say. That might be the first time I've ever said Texas is in the SEC on a video. It felt really weird. But you're going to have that opportunity, right? And that's one thing where I want to see is them come out, be aggressive, get out in transition, use the pick and roll, be physical on the defensive end. Don't allow those backdoor cuts that they've allowed to these below average teams. Really assert your dominance early on as the best team in this tournament, which you are, right? But actually show it. Okay, that's what I want to see. And I think it all starts with your 2 main guys in D5 and JT Toppin. I would love to see them in the pick and roll, but you're also going to see Elijah Hawkins, who is really back in the fold now, and he's going to be hyper aggressive in terms of that pick and roll. And I want to see, does the team in terms of St.Joes, we know Syracuse is going to run zone if the Red Raiders play them, but do teams take a playbook in terms of what UAPB showed in terms of Texas Tech struggling against the 2-3 zone, the 1-2-2 zone, right? Like, do teams take that and run with it? And if so, how did Texas Tech adjust? That's another aspect of things I want to see, most notably on the offensive end. But I think overall, Texas Tech is the best team in this classic. I believe that, okay? And that's just not me being a homer. It's just I really, truly do think that that's what Texas Tech is in this tournament. Now you got to prove it. Big step up in competition, but I think the Red Raiders do. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch them on a neutral site and really, have that first true test in year number 2 of the Grant McCasland era. It's going to be a ton of fun up in Brooklyn. All right, that's going to do it. Hopefully that's a ton of information for you guys. And y'all just enjoy it. It's going to be a fun Thursday and Friday night watching the Red Raiders hoop, and then you go into the weekend, and hopefully Texas Tech football can pull off a win up in Stillwater. But before you head out of here, be sure to like the video, hit that subscribe button, and turn on that notification bell to stay in the know on all things Texas Tech men's basketball all year long, whether it's on the hardwood, in the portal, or anything in between. We've got you covered right here on the most subscribed to Texas Tech YouTube channel and the Back to 12 podcast channel.